Hi everyone, I am Marva from Her Game 2. I'm the Everton Her Game 2 ambassador, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. She is an England international. She plays in the WSL and in my opinion plays for the best club in the world. It might be a slightly biased opinion. I'm joined by Izzy Christiansen. Izzy, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Everton were the first Premier League club to pledge their support to Her Game 2. As an Everton player and recently Everton captain too, what does that mean for you to be a part of a club that supports a campaign like this?
I think it's brilliant, and in terms of the club's vision and awareness of current issues in football. And I think with regards to the vision of the club, I think it says a lot about us, that we're very diverse club, very inclusive, and obviously very current in terms of supporting campaigns and things like that are beneficial to fans in football.
With social media and how powerful it is at the moment, do you think there's more that social media companies could be doing to protect women like you in football? Or is it a case of this is just unfortunately where society is at with these problems and social media just sort of reflects that?
Well, I think for me that, yes, definitely social media companies can do more to protect, in this instance, women in sport and women in football. I think there's always room for improvement in many things, and that being one of them. But yeah, in terms of, we've also got to be like accepting of where society is, and I think women's football in particular is on an upward trajectory, and in terms of its growth, we're into a sort of the seventh or eighth year of professional women's football. So the visibility of the game is obviously increasing, which is a good thing. So we need to be aware that it does take time to change people's perceptions of women's football, and also mindful of the fact that it's going to take time to eradicate all the sort of negativity out of it.
And sort of speaking of the growth of women's football, you've obviously been such a part of that too. To see that increase of crowd sizes, both domestically, internationally, media opportunities, all these, even just facilities, I'm guessing. What's that like to witness sort of history around you whilst being such a big part of the game itself?
Yeah, it's massive, and it almost makes you feel like you've played a part in that growth. I think like when the TV broadcasting deal was sealed with two huge broadcasters at the start of this season for the WSL, I think that's a real landmark moment in terms of obviously the visibility of women's football. It's now being shown prime time over the weekends, games, midweeks, etc., which is great. And also, yeah, I'd say I'm pretty proud to be part of the game on both sides of it, in terms of I've played when there was never really a professional vision with it, and it was almost by chance it just appeared that I was good at football, and I was then all of a sudden a professional footballer. So yeah, obviously I've had to work for where I am, but I've been at both sides of it, and I think that's something which is quite valuable to me, and it's kept me grounded throughout my career.
What are some of the sort of biggest differences you notice in terms of playing non-professionally and professionally? And I guess those players around you who maybe haven't experienced that other side, how do they view it, or do they view it in a very different lens to how you do?
Yeah, I think there's a real balance with it at the moment. Like, we've got young players coming through, especially here at Everton. We've got a few teenagers who would never know football how we knew it growing up. So there's gentle reminders to them of how lucky they are to have this professional environment. But equally, they've got to enjoy it, and that's now the times they're living in. And I think the main difference is in terms of, when comparing professionally to non-professional, is things like training times. Like, I used to train 8 till 10 o'clock here at Finch Farm. I used to get home at about 11 p.m. in the evening, and then get up for school or college or university the next day early. So I think it's just like that would be sort of frowned upon nowadays, that type of lifestyle. But that's how it was because we were non-professional. But now, training in the morning, getting done by lunchtime, obviously to then rest and recover for the next day is obviously very important for high performance.
And if we were to sort of roll back the years and look at a younger Izzy getting involved in football, what was that journey like, and what kind of attitudes were you met with along your journey?
Yeah, I mean, the journey was, I just remember, I look back and think it was so much fun. I used to play with my brother and his friends for his team, and I used to play for my school. But I think one of the key kind of standout negative moments for me was the head of PE. A new head of PE came into my secondary school, and he actually banned me from playing football with the boys at lunchtime and during PE lessons. They wanted to keep me with the girls doing like netball or hockey or whatever, but as much as I was happy to play those other sports, I really missed out on a really good part of my day, which was playing with the boys, just because the standard was so good, and it really helped me kind of get to where I am today. I don't think I would be here without that sort of background of being able to play with the boys growing up. So yeah, I was obviously really disappointed and it hurt me a lot, but I didn't let it get in the way of like where I wanted to go.
And we spoke about the kind of growth of women's football as a game, but off the pitch, there's been so much growth as well in terms of crossover of ex-women's players, professional players commentating on the men's game and vice versa. Does it feel like, in a sense, it is becoming her game too, in that men's football and women's football is at least being presented as just one game rather than two separate things?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're now seeing a really smooth transition for females in the men's game. It's now becoming normal to turn on the TV prime time Saturday or Sunday fixture in the men's Premier League to see, or to possibly see, a female commentating or doing the punditry. I think it's now becoming much more, I don't want to say normal, it's just more visible, and it's just more apparent that females are being used to analyse football matches, whether that be men's or women's games. And on the flip side, we've now seen ex-professional men's players, Ian Wright for one, Stephen Warnock, for example, Martin Keown, to name three, have worked in the women's game in terms of analysing it and being a pundit. So I think it works both ways. And I think that crossover makes it sound more, I don't want to use the word normal, but it does make it smoother for everyone. And I think it's really good that females are being used in high profile situations like that.
And sort of focusing on those different aspects of the game, if you were to give advice to a young girl or even adult woman who was looking to get involved in football in some way, whether it's playing football or officiating or broadcasting, but has maybe come across negative attitudes, what advice would you give someone like that?
I'd say don't let anyone dampen your spirit or dampen what your vision is for your career, however that may look. I think that there's always going to be barriers along the way. And I think that highlights how important it is to have a really supportive circle around you, so that people around you who mean the most to you are the ones giving you the best advice and supporting you on your journey to become, for example, a professional footballer. So I think that's the most important thing. And I think just being thick-skinned and not letting criticism, or, for example, my situation head of PE, don't let them get in your head and don't let them stop you from fulfilling what you want to do.
And lastly, as an Everton fan, I have to ask a little bit about Everton and the season so far. Big win in the FA Cup and also a big win in the league as well against Villa. Is that a sign of a strong end of the season? And what are your hopes and ambitions for the rest of the season too? Well,
I really hope so. I think we've had two very good performances last week. Had a break this weekend, but now we're looking ahead to the next game, which is Leicester at home at Walton Hall Park, and we're hoping for a big turnout to support us, because we're going to need all the support we can get from our fans for the remainder of the season. They've stuck by us when things haven't been easy, so it was great to see them there on Wednesday night, Aston Villa away, in full voice, supporting the team right till the end. So that was a massive win for us and the fans. But I think how our season's going to look for the rest of the season is to be as best as we can be. I think only the league table will tell us how good that is, because what we've got left in the tank to give, I think, is determined on everyone's attitude and how best we want to finish this season. I think for me there's no other option than to just give our everything, give our all, and I'm really excited to see if we can build upon the momentum that we've created over the last week. So yeah, it should be an exciting end to the season.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to us, and thanks for all your support with Her Game too.